Hey everyone, it's Robin Riley for Bello's Designs. Welcome to my video tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how I created this card, which I am calling Honeysuckle Pure Happiness. So if you look up the meaning of honeysuckle, it literally means pure happiness. And if you've ever been under a honeysuckle plant, you'll know exactly why it is called that. So before we get started on the supply list, let's check out our Facebook groups. We have two of them. We have the Facebook group that's called Bello's Design Lounge. On that page, we specifically use only Lavinia products. The other page is called Bello's Designs a la carte. That's where we use Sweet Poppy, Nellie's, Cardio, any other products that is currently in line on the website. You post there. The other social media platforms where you'll find us, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. And to find us there, all you have to do is search the hashtag Bello's Designs. All right, let's take a look at the supplies that I'm going to be using to create this card. The topper itself, which is the top of the card, measures 4 1/4 by 5 3/4 inch. I like to use a heavyweight white card. The base of the card itself measures 6 inches by 9 inches, and it is scored at the 4 1/2 inch mark. I will be using these inks, VersaFine Clair in Shady Lane, along with the VersaFine Clair in Golden Meadow. Some type of blending brush. I'll be using the Lavinia stencil brushes, but you can use any of the brushes. I will be using my favorite tape. This is Sweet Poppy Low Tack tape. Absolutely the best tape, I believe, on the market. The Sweet Poppy stencils that I'll be using. This one is called I just went blank. This is called, look, I have to look, the Net Backplate. That's SP6153. All of the Sweet Poppy stencils are made from a stainless steel. Super nice, super durable, and I think they'll last a lifetime. The other stencil that I'll be using from Sweet Poppy, okay, this is the beautiful Honeysuckle Flourish. I'm sorry for the glare, but there's just literally no way to escape it with these metal plates. This is a large plate, and most of the Sweet Poppy plates are very large. I don't let that bother me because I love to use portions anyway of the stencils, not just the entire stencil itself. I'm going to use a magnetic sheet today, being that these stencils are metal. It makes it easier to use a magnetic sheet. The stamps that the one stamp that I'm going to use, Nature is the Art of God, comes from the Sweet Poppy Friends stamp set. You get a nice variety in here, but I especially like this one for the project today. For stamping purposes, I will be using my Misty because I just don't trust myself to use an acrylic block after I put all this much work into it. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to use that card topper along with the magnetic plate. Simply place the card topper, and I'm going to start with the back plate called Net. Now you can lay this any direction you want. I just want a very faint appearance of this on my card. And I am going to lay it, I think, a little bit wonky for this. Now, the background, I want it to be extremely light. So using my Lavinia stencil brush, as you can see, it's green. I have one for all the color families. I am just going to use what ink is on there. That way I know I'm going to get a very light color. Now, if you look at my card, you can see these little corners sticking out. I am going to just place a small piece of tape over that area because I do not want my brush to go in that area. So I'm just going to block that. So once, like I said, this is just going to be a super light coat of the Shady Lane. And to be honest, I'm sure there's other greens that I have that are mixed in here. As you can see, I'm just very lightly going in circular motions. I like to go all directions, clockwise, counterclockwise, just helps get the ink off the brush. And I'm going to go over the entire card base, or the card topper, I should say. Sorry about that. And again, just a little bit on there. I don't need a lot. So let me remove that tape. And there you can see I have a very, very light area. Now those little corners that didn't fit under, I can just go ahead, place my stencil in that area, and very gently, again, add a little bit of ink. This way they don't like really stand out, make it look like I missed something. There's a little area here that doesn't have any, and a small area in this corner. So you can see how easy that is just to move those around. And there I have that netted backplate. Now with your stencils, get in the habit of cleaning them immediately. The best thing to do is to stand up, walk to the sink, rinse it with some water, and dry it as quickly as possible. I like to use microfiber cloths. Now for today's purpose though, I'm just gonna spritz my cloth, wipe it here. I like to do both front and back side just in case any ink got underneath. And then I let it air dry at this point until I'm ready to use it again. Okay, let's bring this back in. And I'm going to place the Honeysuckle Flourish. Let me get it off, wouldn't you know? There we go. Okay, now, if you look here, you can see I didn't use the large image. I'm just going to focus on this portion. Either way, they're identical, either corner. So I'm just going to focus with this piece here. So to do so, I'm going to keep my honeysuckle basically on the left half of the page. And I'm going to start, really, no rhyme or reason. I'm going to start there. I'm going to add that tape to block off the areas that I do not want my brush to come in contact with. I'm even going to go ahead and block off this piece of the flower, that larger area. And now I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair Golden Meadow. This is such a cool color. It's not yellow, it's not green, but it's a good combination of both. Now I am going to add a little ink, swirl it around to get an even coat on all those brushes. And then I'm going to come in and just start to fill in those areas. Now I'm going to simply use my finger to block off that particular leaf, okay, because that's going to be a different color. So I'm very gently just going to add this color onto the flower, trying to stay away from that stem. It's kind of hard to do, but to be honest, it's doable. Just take your time and control your brush where you're pouncing. Okay, so there I have a nice flower. Now, for that stem and these leaves, I'm going to use my other brush and the Shady Lane. Now, I am also, I should have mentioned this, I'm going to bring in my small number 3 brush. Again, with all of my videos, if I forget supplies in the beginning, don't worry, they'll be listed underneath the description box. So I'm going to add a little bit of ink, swirl it around, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to just tap it into each leaf. And I do not want them to be evenly colored. I want to create some shading. So that's why I don't like to do a real solid color here. Going to add a little bit more here to darken the base of each leaf. And then carefully I'm going in and I'm going to get that stem. As you can see, it's a very narrow opening for that stem. That's why this small brush works so well. And I'm going to gently apply that ink. And I'm not getting all the way to the top of that stem because I don't want my two colors here to mix at this point. So, oops, almost the wrong one. Okay, very gently I'm adding this. And to be honest, if a little bit of this dark green gets in on the honeysuckle, it'll be just fine. I'm going to be the only one that notices it. We are hard on ourselves, aren't we? Okay, so let's take a peek. And there you can see I have my first set of images. I'm going to add another one, and I'm just randomly placing these. There's really no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I want to block off these areas again, just like I did before, because I don't want my brush going in there. Going back in with the Shady Lady. Oh, Shady Lady. Golden Meadow, sorry. Each of the flowers will be done in the Golden Meadow. And add a little more flower to, or more color to this particular flower and this one. Now, granted, these are not the true honeysuckle colors. I know that, but that's what's great about this. We can make them be whatever we want them to be. And once again, I'm going to repeat with the Shady Lady, the leaves. I'm going to vary where my dark spots are this time around, just to create some more interest and to create some depth. Okay, now as you can see, I got a little bit of this stem going. I'm going to use it. I'm just going to add that dark green into that stem. Continuing on. Okay, so there's our second set of flowers. You can see I'm using the same tape over and over. You'll get several uses out of it. Now I have some empty spots, so I just kind of finagle my stencil to get some of the flower in. Okay, I think we'll go there. Block off this area again. See what I mean? You can use this tape over and over, so you can really stretch it. Okay, let me get a little ink in this flower and a little ink in the bottom. Now you can see some of the flower is falling off of the actual page, and that's okay. To me, that creates interest, and it looks more natural if you do it that way. So I'm just continuing on the same exact way I did earlier. Okay, there we go. Now I still want, I think I want something else up here in a corner. So I'm going to, let's see, how shall we do it this time? I'll just do the corner piece like this. Taping off just to be safe. I don't trust myself as far as controlling the brush when I'm working in a tight space. Now here you see I didn't re-ink at all. I'm just using the ink that's left on the brush. I just really don't want that dark of a color on this flower. Removing, and I'm going to take a peek and see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, I got a little a splodge of ink, but that's okay. Not going to be noticeable. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now, what I would like to do, though, is add a few more sets of these leaves. And to do that, I'm going to take a moment and wipe this off because I don't want to mix the inks that much. A little bit would be okay, but this is a little much. Okay, that's good. I got enough wiped off. Now what I want to do is just add a set of leaves right here. This is where I'm aiming for. So since I'm going in there, I am going to tape off a lot. Hopefully I got enough ink off to hold the tape in place. I'm even going to tape that off because again, I'm just going for those leaves. Okay, I'm giving an extra rub because there's still a little bit of ink on my plate and I really don't want that to move as I'm doing this. So coming in with heavier ink at the base, just slowly tapping it up, doing a few swirls here. Same thing on this side, heavy on the bottom, light on the top, giving a nice shadow effect. Okay, let's remove that. I'm going to continue to use these two leaves since it's already taped off. And I'm going to add a portion of a leaf sticking down right here. You always want to create that interest. Don't make it so boxy. Just add bits and pieces where you have openings. You don't need to have that entire leaf showing. See what a difference just that little bit of green made there. I like that. And I think I'm actually very happy with this. I'm going to stop there and not overdo it. No reason to. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to remove this tape, give my stencil a quick wipe down, and then we'll move on. Straight water, you don't need anything mixed into that water, just like when you're cleaning your stamps. There's no reason to use stamp cleaners or soaps. The only time I will tell you to use soap is if the back of your acrylic stamps are no longer sticky. That's when you want to wash them in soap and water. That will bring your stick back on those stamps. Okay, let's move on. Now, what I'm going to do is actually bring in my stamping tool, my Misty. Going to get my card placed. I have a sticky grid mat in mine to help hold my cards still so I don't have to use the magnets as often. And I'm going to use that stamp set, which is the Friends stamp set. And let me grab Nature is the Art of God. And I'm going to find a place where it will be seen well. I really want that message to come out. So using the Shady Lane again, going to stamp it up well and press it onto my card. Now, whenever you're pressing sentiments onto your card, don't put a lot of pressure on that stamp. If you push too hard, believe it or not, you can spread those letters out and then you won't have a nice, crisp image. I am happy with that. We're not going to test my luck. We're going to let that go. Cleaning off my stamp again, simply just water, nothing else. Let me clean off that. And that's it for the Misty. Now, at this point, I am just going to simply adhere this to my card base, folding it in half on that score line. And the adhesive that I like to use, which one other thing I didn't mention in our supply list, is the Art Glitter Designer's Dry Clear Adhesive. So when I put my glue on, you see this is a nice fine tip. Got a little dried glue there, just let me cut that off. I like to put this thin bead of glue about an eighth of an inch to a quarter of an inch in from the edge of my card. That way when I press this down, I don't get the glue to ooze out. You know, when I first started out, I used to put the ink right up on the edge thinking that that was so necessary. Even these big blobs, I will smooth them out a little bit because I don't want any of that to squish out underneath. So let me get this on the card. And now we can add the finishing touches. And for the finishing touches, I am going to use a gold Signo pen. And all I'm going to do is add some highlights on the leaves. I just do a little squiggle line and 3 dots. I'll continue that randomly, and honestly, there is no rhyme or reason why I'm doing this. You don't even have to do it, but I just think it adds a nice touch, a little bit of glimmer. It's not like using glitter, but it just adds enough, I think. So like I said, randomly, I'm just going to add this gold pen with a few dots, creating some interest, making it a little bit classier, I think. So you can see just that much was enough to give it a little oomph. Now lastly, and again, one more thing I forgot to mention, I'm using some Nuvo drops. These are the Nuvo crystal drops, and this is the color Ripened Pumpkin. And all I'm going to do is add a little dot of this where that little dot is in the honeysuckle. Now, when you do this, now the weather's warm here where I'm at now, so this is pretty pliable, but let's say it's in the winter and my room is a little chilly. What I want to do is I want to roll this between my hands just to kind of warm it up and get it moving. And then once I remove the cap, I always do a test dot or two on my work surface. Sometimes you will get an air bubble in here, and if that air bubble comes out, it's going to splatter this everywhere. So make sure you're getting nice dots, and you really don't have to squeeze hard. It's just a very gentle down and up, down and up. This is going to add a raised element to the flower. Again, adding interest and most definitely dimension. Now, again, in cold weather, when the drops are thick, you may get a point on top of that. I don't want a point anyway. So if that occurs, all you have to do is tap your card on your work surface or tap from behind, and that helps to flatten the drops out. Wait a good 24 hours to make sure it is completely dry. It may feel dry to the touch, but because it's thick, the center is still moist. And if you would happen to put that in an envelope or lay something on it heavy, it's going to flatten it out. To be honest, it's not a bad look, but I like the dome shape the best. So there's the card. Here's the original. Like I always say, it's almost impossible to create the same thing twice. I actually like the one I did today because I have more flowers in it. I think that's pretty cool looking. I want to show you one more. This is all the same materials, but this time I used a combination of the largest honeysuckle along with just one set of the honeysuckles. Now the back plate that I used here is from Sweet Poppy, and it's called Plaid. This is a sentiment that comes from that same set that I just showed you. And I used a Nuvo drop called Buttercup for the centers here. I did use a little bit of a green glitter pen to highlight the stems this time, but I just thought it was a nice combination. And like I said, you know, you don't have to use the honeysuckle colors. You can use whatever colors you like. I think that would be pretty in red and green for Christmas. So, you know, just do what you think is best for the time that you need it. And I think it's fun. So I hope I showed you something a little bit different, a little bit new, explained that you can use those great big stencils from Sweet Poppy. Even though the entire thing doesn't fit, you just use portions of it, and you can see how pretty they came out. I think they're super nice. Okay, if you decide to try something like this, please post it in the Bello's Design Lounge page, because this is all Sweet Poppy. That way we can all see your creations and compliment you and let you know what we like about it. And give me a shout out. That way I'm definitely tuned in onto that page. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.